Well, hello, Central Georgia. Hopefully you've been having a fantastic weekend so far. The weather has been beautiful. An abundance of sunshine has been taking place so far. But we have a tropical storm out in the Atlantic getting close to the Carolinas with the name Tropical Storm Chantal. So let's look at the details right here. It has winds of up to 45 miles per hour with pressure at around 1,006 millibars. It's moving northward at 7 miles per hour. So it's still technically a slow mover, but gained a little bit of speed as compared to the early afternoon where it was moving at a brisk speed at 3 miles per hour. So it is getting closer to the Carolinas as we speak. Let's take a look at the satellite and radar, and we can see that we're starting to see a little bit more organization with this storm. We see it spinning, getting closer to the Carolinas. And originally, earlier this afternoon, the original center of the storm started to disorganize a little bit, and we had a new formation of a new center of the storm just on the left side of these clumps of rain and storms. Now, these clumps of rain and storms are are expected to give the gustier winds and heavy rainfall for the coastal Carolinas. But as of right now, the outer band, so these string of rain and thunderstorms, they've been affecting places such as Charleston and Myrtle Beach as of right now. Savannah has been getting intermittent showers all throughout the afternoon, and even our most southeastern counties. So let's zoom in. Even our most southeastern counties such as Montgomery or Wheeler, Telfair County, they've been getting some isolated showers, but that's the most we've seen so far in central Georgia in terms of rain. And as I mentioned just a little bit ago, Savannah has been getting those scattered showers and thunderstorms. That is all due to Chantal. So in terms of the winds here in central Georgia, we were saying that it was going to be a little gusty today. But thankfully, for most of central Georgia, we haven't seen any of those strong wind gusts, so gusts of up to 25 miles per hour. The strongest of the winds have been where those outer bands have been kind of influencing those southeastern counties. So Swainsboro having a gust of 21 miles per hour, Cordele 17 miles per hour, McRae not showing anything. I think that's just a malfunction on the recording instrument. 8 mile per hour sustained winds in Vidalia, 10 mile per hour sustained winds in Eastman, and 9 mile per hour winds in Warner Robins. So far, we've been experiencing a light breeze from the northeast, and this has not really caused any bad weather or any inclement weather. We haven't had those gusts of up to 25 to 30 miles per hour, which would cause a bad hair day. So not bad here in central Georgia. Let's look at the tropical track of Tropical Storm Chantal. This is released by the National Hurricane Center. And notice the new cone has the area a little bit more thinner, so that means the confidence is growing that landfall will occur around the northern coast of South Carolina. And it should be a tropical storm once it makes landfall later tonight or potentially into the early morning hours tomorrow. And then once it goes northward into the more inland portions, it should start to weaken tremendously as it's removed from the warm sea surface temperatures. So once we get into tomorrow afternoon, it should be a classic low pressure system and only should cause some intermittent showers. The wind gusts will absolutely decrease to less than 30 miles per hour by that time. So let's look at the spaghetti models, and it shows us that the models are growing more certain that the path of the storm will get into the northern part of South Carolina. So the GFS has been saying that. It has a couple of outliers saying it's going to go due west and potentially impact us, but I really don't see that happening. And the model that I'm talking about is this outlier, but notice the rest of the models are indicating that it's going to be going into South Carolina, very consistent to what that tropical track has showed us. Let's check out what the Euro says as well. And the Euro does not say anything. It's probably a little error from the graphics. But as you can see, the confidence is growing that the main landfall area would be within the northern coast of South Carolina and potentially the southern coast of North Carolina. And the National Hurricane Center also is in agreement with these models, as they have issued of course, the northern coast of South Carolina and the southern coast of North Carolina within a tropical storm warning. So they are expecting tropical force winds by later this evening and potentially the early morning hours tomorrow, meaning that they could experience winds of up to 39 to 73 miles per hour. Then we have the coast as far as Charleston having a tropical storm watch, meaning that those conditions, those wind gusts of up to 39 miles per hour, those winds are possible within the areas highlighted in yellow. Let's check out the future view. So the future view says that organized clump of rain and storms that you just saw on the satellite radar, it's going to get closer to the coastline in the next couple of hours. Once we get into 9 o'clock, that's when the coastal areas within a tropical storm warning will receive the heavy rain and the gusty winds, and that will continue all throughout the night. By midnight to 1 in the morning, we should see the center of the storm go through the northern part of South Carolina. That's when it will officially make landfall. And then once we get into the later parts of the morning, 4, 5 in the morning, we'll start to see the storm weaken as the warm sea surface temperatures are removed from these storms. And right around 8 o'clock in the morning, that's when it should be just a post-tropical cyclone, what we would call a remnant low. So just normal storms and rain for parts of North Carolina and Virginia at that point. And then we get to 6 o'clock, still heading northward, potentially into West Virginia and into Pennsylvania. But notice for central Georgia, the most that we will receive is just isolated showers, if that. Will stay mainly dry all throughout the next couple of days. Monday should get back into that summertime pattern with those pop-up showers and storms, but still our rain chances are confined to 20% at most. So let's check out the headlines. So tropical storm conditions are expected this evening and through Sunday morning. This is for the coastal Carolinas, specifically the northern coast of South Carolina and the southern coast of North Carolina. For central Georgia, we are good. Heavy rainfall will be expected within these areas, and it could cause some flash flooding. I could definitely see up to 5 inches of rain. It all depends on how long the rain stalls over a certain amount of time, especially later tonight. That's going to be very important, especially for flash flooding. And also the speed of the storm is also going to be important too. You notice that it's a slow mover. It increased in the speed a little bit, but still technically very slow, moving at a speed of 7 miles per hour. So if it continues to move slowly through the Carolinas, that's also another thing to look out for, especially for flash flooding. What we're hoping for is for the speed to increase. That way, if it increases its speed, it'll limit the rainfall overall for the coastal Carolinas. And then we're confident that surf and rip currents will be seen all along the southeastern U.S. coast. The coastal parts of Georgia have been experiencing those on and off showers, but nothing really in terms of consistent rainfall. But those areas should be watching for those rip currents, especially for the next couple of days. Here's the list of hurricane names now that we crossed out Chantal. The next tropical cyclone on the board will be Dexter, and then the next named storm after that would be Aaron and Fernand. Now, it is a little bit early in the hurricane season, but honestly for the Atlantic, it's been sort of quiet. We went through Andrea last week, and then we also went through Barry as well. Now we're in Chantal. And if we take a look at the frequency in terms of the storms, by June, July, it's technically sort of quiet, but we'll start to see the frequency of these storms increase tremendously by August. And then by mid-September, I think specifically September 13th, that's when we should experience our peak hurricane frequency. And for those of you who remember, of course, Helene happened around late September. So along the lines of where it gets pretty active here in central Georgia. So I'm going to I'm going to go back to the main graphics over here. All in all, to recap, we haven't seen much change in terms of what the storm was in the early afternoon, but still, it is still producing winds of up to 45 miles per hour, moving northward at a speed of 7 miles per hour. So I'm going to recap, go through these graphics quickly rather than more in depth, just to give you that quick recap. So the storm is moving northward at a speed of 7 miles per hour, getting closer to the Carolinas. And if we take a look at the satellite and radar, we're seeing that the storms and the heavy rain is starting to organize within the northeastern quadrant of the center of the storm. And we're also seeing that the outer bands is producing some rainfall for Myrtle Beach. We're also seeing some intermittent rain for Charleston and Savannah, but that clump is just getting closer to areas such as Wilmington and Myrtle Beach. But for central Georgia, still mainly dry. The most we've seen has been these isolated showers for our southeastern counties. Now looking at the track by the National Hurricane Center, it's still expected to move northward, making landfall in the northern coast of South Carolina as a tropical storm, potentially by early tomorrow morning. Then it will weaken tremendously as it moves inland, and it will turn into a remnant low. So it'll have winds less than 39 miles per hour. Looking at the spaghetti models by the GFS, the confidence is high that it'll go through the coastal Carolinas. One model is saying that it'll go a little bit more towards the west, but I'd consider that an outlier. Still, the consensus is potentially the northern part of South Carolina. That's where it's likely to make a landfall, especially by tomorrow early morning. So the places under a tropical storm warning: the northern coast of South Carolina and the southern coast of North Carolina. So the National Hurricane Center is expecting winds of up to 39 to 73 miles per hour for the areas shaded in red. And then for the coast as south as Charleston, the area shaded in yellow, that means that tropical storm force conditions are possible, but not yet considered expected. Let's look at the future view, and it shows us that the storm will get closer and closer to making landfall in the next couple of hours. By 7 to 8 o'clock, that's when the heavy rain, the organized storms that we just showed you in the satellite and radar, that's when it will affect the southern coast of North Carolina and the northern coast of South Carolina. Now, with its slow movement, it could potentially cause flash flooding at that time, especially late at night with the heavy rain. We get into tomorrow early morning, that's when it makes landfall in the northern coast of South Carolina. Once it goes inland, it will start to lose steam as it's removed from its fuel, so the sea surface temperatures from the Atlantic, and it will weaken back into a classic low pressure system. For central Georgia, notice will stay mainly dry throughout tomorrow and for the start of the work week. So all in all, here are the headlines for Tropical Storm Chantal. Expected to have tropical storm conditions for the Carolinas later this evening and Sunday morning. The main threat is heavy rainfall, as it could produce some flash flooding along those coastal areas. But for the rest of the southeastern U.S. coast, so for the Georgia coast, surf and rip currents are possible for the next couple of days. So that is the information from our newest update at 5 o'clock, and we'll be back giving you tropical updates with each single update from the National Hurricane Center. So our next update will come at 8 o'clock. Then after that, we'll have an update at 11 o'clock. Thank you for watching, and have a beautiful night, Central Georgia.